1340 96.5 KVGC. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Jeopardy. Have you seen those commercials with they're bringing back the 3 top Jeopardy players?
Yes, they make it sound so authentic, so thrilling, such like a real pitted adventure. And I guess it's kind of is exciting for celebrity, or I should say for Jeopardy fans. I mean, these guys are kind of celebrities. They're well known in the fandom, right? I mean, they've won millions, and one guy won the most in one day, and the other 2 had the record for the most winnings, the longest streaks, right?
$131,000 in one day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then the other guy had like a 75-day run, and the other guy won millions of dollars. But how can they stretch that out?
That's what I was going to say. That's like one show worth, unless they do just a whole week of it and do like whoever wins the most in the week or something.
Yeah, because doesn't it seem to you that they're trying to make it like a Dancing with the Stars type thing? It's going to be 6 weeks, 8 weeks long.
Wow, I don't.
That's what I take out of it.
Wow, interesting. It's going to be that long.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's going to lose its cachet after a while, isn't it?
I'd think so, wouldn't you?
Not for them. They're just going to keep on piling up the dough.
My wife is mad at Dancing with the Stars this time out. She didn't like the lady that got that won it. I guess it was the Bachelorette or a lady from the Bachelor or whatever.
I agree with her. I don't think she deserved it. First of all, the personality. I don't know how she got any votes because just to me, she had a really off-putting personality. It was so fake. But and she had this fake smile and all this. She's like beauty contestant. And then when she got a little bit of pressure on her, she snapped at the judges a number of times. And she was, I don't know how people vote for that. But all right, but there were other better dancers for sure.
Have you seen that? It's a funny meme on Facebook. The one with the woman from the Real Housewives arguing with the cat.
Yeah. People put a lot of their own comments in there, left and right.
I saw one the other day, and it was, hey, where's the cat? And it's the woman, and it's Alf sitting there. And there's like, I ate him.
That's good.
Only people that would remember Alf would remember that. So now we have to do a little bit of housekeeping here before we continue on with the show today. Did you spend any time over the past week? Did you do your homework and watch any Hallmark movies?
I did not. I could not do it.
Okay.
I tuned in 2 of them, and I will say this: I tuned in for the first half hour, and the setup is always, like you said, is always the same. Cameron, what's her name? Bure?
Cameron. Candace Cameron Bure is
right.
Yeah.
She was in both of them.
Okay.
And they didn't seem terrible. They seemed like they would be almost good. They were like that.
They'd be almost good.
It's almost something you would almost want to sit down and watch, but it just was missing some zest. I don't know how someone could watch all 24 of those, but I guess you're doing that. Is that your marathon?
Well, no. They're different ones on. They play different. I have to admit that we probably have seen a few of them many times before.
Oh, you watch them over again?
Well, if they're on.
Are some of them becoming a classic for you?
Yes, yes. In fact, we do have probably 3 or 4 of them recorded from previous years that we fish out once in a while.
Evergreens, is that the one?
No. There's one called Let It Snow, and there's one called Merry Mix-Up, and there's another one called, oh, gosh.
What about the one, wasn't there one with a Santa Claus that was... the grandfather was a Santa Claus. Oh, geez.
There's one where there's a couple of them where Santa Claus is like Candace Cameron Bure goes to this town up in Alaska as the new doctor,
right?
And the guy is the guy's father that she falls in love with is Santa Claus, and they run a delivery business, and he's real big. It's
That one I've seen.
anyway. Oh, you've seen now. Whoa! Now you've seen it.
Years ago. That's an older one.
No. No, wait a second. So first of all, last week you said you've never seen them. Now you're saying you've seen them.
Well,
before?
that rings a bell. Unless it was another one with Mickey Rooney as Santa, I can't put all these together. These almost good movies.
There's one, and I don't know the girl's name in it. I used to watch this show. It was on FX with Timothy Oliphant. I don't know if you're familiar with him, the actor, or not, but it was called Justified, and it was about a U.S. Marshal in the Appalachian Hills, and this one girl that was in these Hallmark movies. I first knew her from being a pretty bad character in Justified, and then as I get introduced to Hallmark movies, I see she's in a lot of these Hallmark movies as this sweet, nice girl, and I can't see her as that anymore because I still see her as, the female lead of this crime family. So anyway, what the hell are we talking about?
The tough life that we live.
Yeah, moving right along. Anything exciting in the neighborhood?
I'll tell you, are there any Santa sightings around you? Santa seems to make the rounds here sometimes, all over, but like in a fire engine, a hook and ladder. And he shows up, and they have appointments around town at different homes. And last night, he showed up. He had an appointment with a neighbor across the street. So he arrived on the fire truck in the hook and ladder. They had him go way up in the sky on the hook and ladder and throw down some firemen are very safety conscious in New York. They threw down the candy canes at the kids, and he came down and gave a little speech to everybody, and off he went. But it was pretty cool because it was the first time. I've been in this neighborhood about 14 years, and we know all the neighbors up and down the block, but never seen the neighbors all in the same place, and we had an old 60s type style or 70s style cocktail party at someone's house right after Santa was there with all the kids and about 8 families. So it was very unique for us and very different, but it leads me to believe, I don't know, is it like that by you? Do you ever have, like, neighborhood cocktail parties? I know my parents used to have them in the 60s and 70s all the time.
Yeah, my parents did too. Like every Saturday night, they would go to someone else's house, and it maybe be at our house, it'd be at the Taylor's house, maybe it'd be at Lorenzo's house, it'd be someone else's, and then when they were there, think about it. When they were there at your house, who tended bar? I did. I'm like 10, 11. I'm tending bar for everybody. Did you ever do that for your parents? Did you ever?
Never did that.
You
no.
never? Oh, come on.
We would go get the drink here and there and deliver it, but not actually mix them up.
I got pretty good at it, to be honest with you. But the Santa Claus, we just wrapped up a week long. Every night this past week, Santa has traveled through different neighborhoods in Ione. Now, this coming week, he'll be traveling through various neighborhoods in Jackson with the fire department as well. So
he's got some contract with the fire departments all over the country. Some deal. I think that's pretty interesting.
I do too. Don't you? Why isn't the ambulance company, or why isn't it the public works department, or just the, somebody else take him around?
Good for him. He's pretty good thinking, that guy.
Or the sheriff's department, or police department.
Right.
Sheriff's department once in a while brings around their patrol boat, and people come and throw unwrapped toys in the patrol boat for.
Okay.
Kids, but Santa and yeah, you're right. I don't know. Maybe he's.
I'm surprised he doesn't make his way, or let's do it the other way. That the businesses of the sales businesses, like real estate companies, don't make a deal with Santa to have him appear over there, just to try to solicit people. Don't you get like solicitations on real estate like all the time? We'll sell your house. Your neighbor just sold your house. Come on, sell your house.
Yeah. You get these cards. A home in your neighborhood has sold for $325,000. I go, oh wow!
So that makes me, my neighbor sold, so I better sell. I don't know.
What does a house in your neighborhood sell for?
geez, they're crazy. They probably go for about $650.
What?
Yeah.
I've actually Google mapped your neighborhood and seen it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's not even anything special. It's like a quarter of an acre.
Hey,
It's private. But,
isn't that scary, Douglas? When people go, I know where you live. I haven't Googled your neighborhood, but if you gave me your address,
I could. Google Maps. You could do a real picture. You could get on it,
and you could get down to the street level and look around the house and stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary if you think about it.
Taking the garbage out one day.
That's kind of scary though if you think about it. Really think about that. That's
Yeah, you could look. Like you could even go up. Like back in the day, I had access to the real estate rolls. I think you can still do it. But as a realtor, I was a realtor back in the day, and I could look up anybody's address. I looked up Howard Stern just for kicks. There's a you can, if you push the right buttons, find out where anybody lives if it's a home is in their name.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And so I never visited or anything like that, but I did do a Google on it and saw it and this and that. And, I mean, it's.
Do you really think you could go up? And I'm not being silly, but do you think you could? Could you go up to Howard Stern's house and just knock on the door, or is it a gated community? Or
well, back when I did that, this is like 20 years ago plus. He wasn't as famous and as well known, and as didn't have as much money. So then, yes, now he's out in the Hamptons in like which is way out on the island. Takes a helicopter to work, and he's got a huge gated area around him. So it's like a Beverly Hills type of environment, But back in the day, I could have definitely.
So when they say the Hamptons, okay, because we hear that all the time, they live in the Hamptons.
Right.
What is that? I mean,
it's like a mini. You've been to Beverly Hills, right?
Yeah,
where the stars live and all that. It's like a mini one of those, stuck on literally on the beach.
Really? I mean, a lot of houses there.
There's not a. There are a number, but there's. Yeah, I guess you'd say a lot, but the real Hamptons, like where Stern is, where Hugh Jackson is, where let's see, Paul McCartney is. It's huge mansions where there's got like 10, 12, 20 acres, so you're not getting in there. But for the regular person who wants to buy one, they're lined up pretty close. Like lots are maybe, what would you say, 50 by 100 or a quarter of an acre at the most. And so there's a lot out there, and it's a big, big community of stars that love to go out there.
I really enjoyed last week when you were talking to your guest, Don DeFore's kid, and about just, we lived here, Joe Blow lived across the street, what's her name, Judy Garland lived up the road here,
right.
And this guy, wasn't that, I mean, how'd you like
incredible, different world. Judy Garland would knock on the door.
Yeah, people would just
hello.
go. And so back to what you were saying to your cocktail party and your neighborhood, I was listening to, they were talking about it actually on Coast to Coast. And they were talking about how things have changed. Back in the day, you would think nothing of it about just dropping into someone's house for the holidays or just, on a Saturday or just any day, just knock on the door. Hey, what's going on? Now your neighbor knocks at your door. You go hide in the back room. Shh, don't say anything. Nobody wants to.
Yeah.
I don't even, how do you know? I mean, I know my neighbors' names. I live in a pretty small town and a neighborhood. Do you know all your neighbors' names? Do you know them by face? Would you go to their house and just knock?
I do know them, but it's at a distance. Like I don't know their cars.
So what happened, Douglas? What happened in a short period, in a relatively short period of time? We went from everybody, come on in. What and everybody's parents said, hey, if you don't stop that, I'm gonna spank you or I'm gonna hit you or whatever. That sounds kind of bad, but you know what I mean. Hey, knock it off. And you, shoot, he's going to tell my dad. My dad's going to get me. Now you go, hey, knock it off. And the old man comes knocking at your door and punches you in the nose.
Yeah, you're not even allowed. You really, literally can barely talk to another kid that's not yours.
Yeah.
At least that's the impression you have, Otherwise you're going to have some trouble. And, what did happen to that? Like, even go back to Mr. Rogers,
sure.
His starting thing was won't you be my neighbor. That was a pleasant thing, a fun thing, someone you knew, someone you were close with, and a great term. if he was singing that song now, I don't think it has the same, like, for the first time, it doesn't have the same cachet. Yeah, neighbor needs, they live next door and live across the street, but, you know, you don't send your kids over there. And my neighborhood, the kids are all, a lot of kids the same age, maybe a year or two off. When I grew up, we would ride our bikes to the neighbors, would go call for them on a Saturday, and everyone knew everyone. The parents were, oh, come on in, and so forth. And every parent knew every kid. I'm not sure that that's what's happening now, and I hope maybe for us last night was a turn, because everyone at the party was talking about the same thing and how our parents used to do this all the time, and what happened, why don't we, and so forth. Just makes it easier and nicer, you know, and if there's an emergency, God forbid, you know, you've got someone there you can you borrow the sugar from, or watch your kids if you have to go to the hospital or whatever. You know, it doesn't make any sense why we're so closed off. I don't get it. And it's a real, no one's talking about it. Maybe we're the cutting edge and on this, maybe Coast to Coast was, but it's a weird dynamic, isn't it, that happened? I'm surprised that it's everywhere. It's even California's. I mean, it's everywhere.
You know, you mentioned Mr. Rogers. Back to that movie's kind of come and gone, hasn't it? It's not getting the why?
It's a good question, because he was really something. I just don't think there was much controversy, and it was up against Frozen 2, and it wasn't promoted great because it really wasn't about him. It was about a kind of a misanthrope writer of the day that was given the assignment to go to visit and write an article about Mr. Rogers, and he really was on the intention of finding dirt against him and try to bring him down, so to speak, and tell the real story. And he turned out to find out that Mr. Rogers was exactly off the air what he was on the air.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess that's kind of an interesting story, but it didn't sell. And by the way, he's gone 15 years or something like that, isn't it? I'm trying to think.
It's been a while, yeah. Oh, at least, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's lost that cachet. But I'll tell you this, anybody over 30, mention Mr. Rogers, at the very least they know who he is, and most put a smile on their face when you say that, and most have seen it. Like, I remember watching it as a kid, and even, a little later, and you get sucked in, you're like, I don't want to watch this. This is so Dullsville. And all of a sudden, you don't turn the channel for a second. He gets sucked in. He goes, wait a minute, what's he doing? Oh, he's visiting a shop that makes bowling pins. I'm going to figure out, let's take a look and see what that's about. Like, you get sucked into it. It's like a guilty pleasure. But I don't know about the movie, if there's enough.
So I am 60, I'm 63 years old. I'll be 64 in February. Okay? It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I've always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, shall we be friends? I can sing that song.
That's unbelievable.
But you know what,
And probably the last time you really sat down and saw it is over 30 years ago.
So what does that mean? Why does that stick with me? And I don't know what 7 times 8 is. But
right, it's hard when you get those high numbers.
Anyway.
I tell you, it shows you these kids' shows leave an indelible mark. Yeah. And here's another thing, and we'll be doing a couple of shows about this. There are no Mr. Rogers. There are no adult, human, sponsored or hosted shows for kids anymore.
No, you're right.
You're right. None. And why is that? Again, I'm stretching it, but is that a reflection, or is that the reason why, you feel so guilty to talk to your neighbor's kid for a few minutes?
Well, Douglas, if you think about it, too, there's not a Saturday lineup of cartoons like there used to be when we were kids. It's so random now. Yeah. I mean, you'd sit down with, hey, don't bother me. It's starting at 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and I'll be here till, all the weird ones started coming on at 11:30 or 12. But there was a block there. You had to watch that. But anyway, hey, we're running out of time. Who's on this week's show?
This week we have, speaking of back in the day, and guests, we have one more guest. We have Paul Michael Glazer. Does that ring a bell?
Really?
Yes, Starsky himself from Starsky and Hutch. And we befriended him on air, and he opened up about quite a number of things and talked about the show itself, talked about acting in general, how to get into it, and he actually wrote a kids book a few years back that he just opened up and started to talk about, and sounds intriguing, sounds more like a Harry Potter-ish kind of story, and it's a holiday story, so that we talk about that a bit as well. So he's a pretty interesting guy. Also, if you remember, his wife had a blood transfusion and garnered AIDS back maybe 20 years ago, and there was no help for her child that breastfed and was transferred the AIDS virus through that, and the child died, and later on she died. But before she died, she established a foundation to help this problem, and the problem is there is now children's drugs, if you will, to combat that all throughout the world. And so he talks about that a little bit as well. So it's an interesting, a lot of different facets to this man.
All right, here we go. This is for all the marbles, okay?
Yes.
You'll be the trivia king of the universe.
I will definitely lose this. Here we go.
Okay. What were the real names of Starsky and Hutch?
Wow. You mean the real fictional names?
Yeah, it was. Do you want me to tell you?
Yes.
You don't remember?
No.
Okay, David Starsky.
Yes, okay.
And Ken, Hutchinson. Yeah. And who can forget Huggy Bear? Remember Huggy Bear?
Absolutely.
Do you guys talk about Huggy Bear at all?
We don't. In fact,
I've
reached out and trying to get a reunion. I've gotten Hutch is living in England now, but I've got a possibility of doing a reunion of Starsky and Hutch in the show in 2020. We'll see.
David Soul.
Yes.
Yep. All right. Douglas Viviani, David Cohen tonight at 6 o'clock. Again tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Everything Old is New Again, the show each week that examines our pop culture, where it came from, why it's still popular. Definitely making radio fun again. Douglas, have a great show tonight.
Thanks. We'll talk to you next week.
All right.